I believe we can get to $1 million end of the cycle because the amount of money that's going to be printed is going to be absolutely insane, as every government around the world does the same thing, which is print money to make my people feel happy because the global growth is slowing. I think that we're in a transition period of a global financial system. We're going to change it. The elites will resist the change, which means they're going to print a lot of money, more money than ever that's ever been printed, because they don't want the post-World War II U.S. Hegemony to change. And that's why, I believe. And I think now is the time for this to happen.
In this recent interview with Cointelegraph featuring Arthur Hayes, CEO and co-founder of BitMEX, we learn about the potential impact of quantum computing on Bitcoin's future, how decentralized finance could surpass centralized finance, the unique adoption of Bitcoin in countries like Argentina and El Salvador. At the time of this discussion, Bitcoin is trading around $96,000, with a 2% increase in the last 24 hours and a 1% increase over the last 30 days. Before we explore this conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Now let's hear more from Arthur Hayes.
I think retail is all that matters. I don't care about institutional adoption. This is about giving billions of people the ability to trade, to invest, to save in a different way. I don't really care what JP Morgan and BlackRock do. They'll come into the space and they'll have a particular type of product that they use and serve a particular type of client base. That's not what we're focused on. We want to see what are the real retail applications. How do we give more people access to finance? I think that DeFi will eventually become much bigger than CeFi just because it's easier to onboard more people. Once people understand, oh, well, I guess open up my browser, connect my wallet, and now I have all these types of financial products. That for some people is like revolutionary because they don't have a bank account, or they have very, very limited banking services, or the banks that they have are very, very corrupt. And so I think that DeFi will get the long tail of users. Maybe it's not going to be the most used thing in America or Western Europe when you have a banking system that, for the most part works, but for large parts of the world, they don't have that. And so DeFi is, an improvement over the thing that they have. I mean, obviously over here in Asia Pacific, I use mostly fiat. And obviously I want to spend fiat and save crypto as much as I can. But where it makes sense, like places like Argentina, where, using a credit card or a bank wire isn't going to work, I use crypto. I think it needs to get easier. It's still too hard for most people. They don't like remembering long passwords and stuff like that. I think it really will depend on how we bring culture on chain. So how do we make it so that somebody wants to learn about crypto? Maybe it's meme coins, maybe it's an NFT, maybe it's their favorite, creator has launched their own coin. So they're a fan, they're gonna, figure out how to use a wallet and get it that way. So I think at the end of the day, the US economy is very strong. The government's spending a lot of money, and the Fed wants to cut rates while the government is spending all this money. It doesn't make any sense. And so I think it's very inflationary. I think the market's going to realize that. And then when that happens, bond yields, especially 10-year treasury bond yields, will rise, and that'll cause a short-term market correction. Also, I believe that, reducing the differential between dollar rate and the yen rate will cause the yen to strengthen. We saw the yen carry trade unwind a few months ago in late July, early August, and with that impact on financial markets, as the Fed cuts rates, yen strengthens. That's negative for financial markets. So we'll see this weekend what happens. I think Bitcoin's traded quite strong. It's like 63,000 or something. Oh, 64. There we go. But I think we'll see what happens over the weekend. Can Bitcoin maintain these gains, or is the market going to switch its thinking on whether or not a Fed in a cutting cycle, given the level of government spending, given the level of inflation, it's above their 2% target? We'll see. I don't know. Well, I think they've gone down a bit, but now if you can invest in treasury bills, it used to yield 5.5%. Now they yield, 5 to 4%, right? So if that keeps going down, then everyone who's earning all this money just sitting on bonds is going to have to do something with it. And that's something I think will be partially crypto, maybe gold, maybe real estate. And so as these assets are not earning this income, they're going to move out into other assets of fixed supply, like crypto. Well, again, I think that was expected by the market, the BOJ to hold. We'll see what the market believes about the Fed and its future path. I think I was reading yesterday that people expect a rate cut in November now, and that's so. Is that aggressive enough to force people who have borrowed yen to cover their trades and sell the assets that were financed? I don't know. We'll see. That's my bet, at least in the short term. But in the long term, I do believe in money printing. The U.S. government, every other major government needs to print money to make their population feel happy, and that's going to benefit crypto.
As we just heard Arthur Hayes discuss the threat of quantum computing to Bitcoin security, now let's hear him talk more about the evolution of decentralized finance, DeFi, and how it compares to centralized systems. We'll also learn about the growing adoption of Bitcoin in places like Argentina and El Salvador, where traditional banking systems have failed to meet people's needs. Now, let's listen to what Arthur Hayes has to say.
I think a lot of the ETF flows were driven by hedge funds like Millennium, who are putting on a basis trade. So they buy the ETF and they sell the futures contract on the CME. We'll see if their holdings change in the next disclosures, and I think it's a 13F by the SEC, and whether or not these funds have decreased their exposure because the basis or the interest rate has gone down on these trades. And that will reveal what the true demand is for these products. I think it's TBD right now, but over time, as a marketing machine kicks in for BlackRock and these large financial institutions and getting the RIAs out there pitching this stuff, you'll see more inflows, but it's just gonna take longer than people think. As the banks make fees, they're gonna do as much of this as they can. So I think there'll be an ETF in as many cryptos as possible. So right now, I'm still believe that we're in a bull market. There's going to be more money printing globally. And so my core bags of Bitcoin and ETH, I'm not selling. I might trade around the position a small bit by taking a tactical short here and there, but I'm long. And then in the altcoin portfolio at Maelstrom, we're obviously long only sort of investors. We will start liquidating things when it makes sense. But right now, we believe we're still in the early stages of the bull market. It depends on what you bought. If you bought Bitcoin in March of 2023 in the US banking crisis, you're up 3x. If you bought some new coin, altcoin or shitcoin that gets listed, maybe you're down 95%. So it really depends on what you purchase, but the aggregate value of all of crypto has still increased over the last 12 to 18 months. So I believe we're still in a bull market, but again, it depends on what you bought. It's interesting that a developing country like El Salvador has sort of broken away from the traditional advice that they're given on how to manage their country and gone with this Bitcoin approach. And so it's given an idea to other countries, hey, you don't have to follow what the IMF and the World Bank tell you. Here's an example of doing something different. Maybe it's better for your population not to follow these rules. So I think it's great. We'll see more sort of like less wealthy countries doing it because they've seen that over the last 50 or 60 years, the advice that they're given by the Americans and the Europeans is not good advice. It's not in their best interest. And so why not use a free currency owned by the world that's not controlled by Washington, D.C. or Brussels? Well, it depends on what you sell it for. So if Bitcoin goes up in dollar terms, I agree with you. You just earn more fiat if you're just going to sell Bitcoin. But let's say that Bitcoin goes up massively versus oil or uranium or natural gas, then maybe if you've accumulated enough Bitcoin, you can actually go and buy a power plant on the cheap. I don't know.
To watch the full interview, check out the link in the description. We would love to hear your thoughts on some questions. Do you think quantum computing poses a real threat to Bitcoin in the near future? Will DeFi outgrow centralized finance in the next decade? Thank you for tuning into Only the Savvy. If you enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe, like, and share our video for more engaging content exploring the innovative world of decentralized technologies. SIM swap fraud is sweeping the globe, and your mobile security is at risk. Switch to Ifani and lock out SIM swap fraud and get the most elite mobile protection in the world. Ifani guarantees 100% protection from SIM swaps backed by a $5 million insurance policy. Stay secure with reliable coverage, free international roaming, and unlimited data. Trust Ifani to keep your communications and assets secure. Get military-grade protection, 24/7 concierge service, and a hassle-free upgrade. Click the link below for $150 off. Thanks for watching. Help support this channel and receive exclusive offers from one of our partners located in the description. We'll see you on the next one.